What if the exact moment of your passing wasn't, just a fading into darkness? What if it was actually an explosion of blinding, brilliant light?
I mean, that completely upends our conventional narrative about death, right?
Yeah.
We usually picture a void,
Yeah.
an ending.
Exactly, a total collapse. But what if the end of your life was actually this sudden, unvarnished revelation of the ultimate true nature of your own mind?
It changes everything. The perspective we are exploring today paints death as this profound beginning. It's the emergence of something luminous that has actually been there all along.
And today we're taking a deep dive into the Penguin Classics translation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. We are looking way past the pop culture myths and focusing purely on the mechanics of what this tradition calls inner radiance at the time of death.
It is such a detailed, incredible system.
It really is. And to grasp this, I want you, listening right now, to just imagine a Tibetan Thangka painting. If you've ever stood in front of one, you know they are these massive, highly detailed, incredibly calm works of art.
Oh, absolutely. They are perfectly symmetrical.
Right. Every single deity, every cloud, every color has a precise purpose in the cosmic architecture.
And that aesthetic, it perfectly captures the tone of the source material. The text maps the dissolution of life with that exact same serene, vivid precision.
It's like a meditative auditory landscape.
Exactly. It treats the death process not as some chaotic, terrifying collapse, but as a highly ordered, natural progression. It is a transition that you are meant to meet with absolute clarity.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can witness this explosion of light, this inner radiance, we really have to understand the canvas it's painted on.
We have to look at the shadows first.
Right. We have
Yep.
to look at the meticulous, step-by-step, physical and mental unwinding that precedes it.
The tradition refers to this as the gathering shadows. It's the systematic dissolution of the physical elements that make up our bodies and, really, our waking reality.
And it's crucial to understand that this isn't just a sudden switch being flipped, it is a sequential unspooling.
Right. It happens in very specific stages.
I was reading this sequence and I kept thinking about an analogy. It feels like turning off a massive, incredibly complex factory at night. First, you pour down the heavy machinery.
Which, in the body, is the earth element dissolving into the water element.
Exactly. You experience this profound loss of physical solidity. The sheer weight of your body just becomes unsupportable.
And following that, the water element dissolves into fire. So the body's liquids literally begin to dry up.
Like the lips and the tongue.
Yes, the lips, the tongue, all the sensory orifices. Then the fire element dissolves into wind, which manifests physically as the loss of bodily warmth.
So the extremities grow cold as the heat withdraws toward the heart.
Precisely.
So sticking with the analogy, the heavy machinery is off, the water lines are drained, and the heating systems are shut down.
Yeah, the factory's getting quiet.
Finally, the massive ventilation fans spin down to a halt. The wind element dissolves into consciousness. The breath becomes wheezy, the limbs shiver.
Until eventually, there is no physical movement at all. No heat, no noise.
There is only the silent, pure electricity humming in the mainframe.
That is a great way to put it. And while that physical factory is shutting down on the outside, there is a corresponding, highly specific, internal unwinding.
The consciousness is actively detaching from its physical anchors.
Yes. And as this happens, the dying person experiences a sequence of internal mirages.
First, there is a whitish appearance.
Right. Followed by a reddish increased appearance, and finally a blackish near attainment.
But this raises a major question for me. I mean, if the mind is actively separating from the physical senses, if the physical eyes are shutting down and the optical nerve is essentially offline, what exactly is seeing these white, red, and black mirages?
That is really the core mechanical question of this whole process. In this framework, those visions aren't optical illusions happening in the physical eye at all.
Okay, so what are they?
They're experiences of the subtle mind. The Tibetan Buddhist view suggests that our consciousness doesn't just, float freely. It rides on subtle energies.
Like winds or prana.
Exactly. Winds moving through a network of energy channels in the body. And the most important of these is the central channel, which basically runs along the line of the spine.
So these colors aren't light hitting a retina. They are the mind perceiving its own subtle architecture.
Precisely. We all carry what the tradition calls the white and red generative essences. We inherit those from our father and mother, respectively.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So as the gross physical layers are stripped away, the white essence descends from the crown of the head. That causes the whitish vision, which they describe as being like moonlight.
And then the red essence ascends from the navel.
Yes, causing the reddish vision, like sunlight. And when those two essences finally meet and enclose the consciousness right at the heart center, you get the blackish near attainment.
Total darkness.
Total darkness.
And that blackness triggers the final physical moment. The external breath ceases, the blood at the heart forms drops. The breath extends with 3 long exhalations, what the text describes as HIK-like gasps.
And then the individual swoons into total unconsciousness.
That swoon into blackness is the ultimate threshold. The physical factory has completely shut down.
Right. And knowing these precise signs of dissolution is crucial, because the exact moment the outer breath stops, it creates a tiny, critical window of opportunity.
Which brings us to a concept that completely blew my mind. The practice of phowa, or consciousness transference.
It is a very advanced, very powerful practice.
Yeah, it's positioned as this method for attaining liberation without necessarily requiring a lifetime of intense meditation in a cave. But you don't just do it whenever you feel like it.
No, timing is everything.
It has to be applied in this incredibly brief interval after the outer respiration ceases, but before the inner breath completely stops.
What's fascinating here is the distinction between the outer breath and the inner breath.
Because we tend to think of breath purely as oxygen moving in and out of the physical lungs, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the view in highest yoga tantra recognizes a subtle inner vitality. It's a life-sustaining energy that remains in the central channel of the body for a short period, even after the lungs have stopped moving.
So it's during this specific gap that the vital energy is just resting, perfectly unagitated, right in the central channel.
Yes. So during this gap, the practitioner, or a lama, guiding them from the bedside, focuses their awareness.
You are instructed to visualize your consciousness as a seminal point, or a specific seed syllable, like a white O or a blue hey.
And you literally shoot it upwards. You force it through the central channel and out the crown fontanelle at the top of the skull.
And we should probably clarify the mechanics of why you use a seed syllable.
Yeah, that's important. In this tradition, syllables like A and Hey aren't just letters of an alphabet. They are viewed as the actual sonic architecture of reality.
So visualizing the syllable and silently vibrating its sound, it gives the mind a specific geometric shape and frequency.
Exactly. It acts as a vehicle to corral that subtle wind and just drive it upward.
And it specifically has to exit through the crown of the head, right?
Yes, that is vital.
Because if the energy exits through other orifices, like the mouth or the lower body, it basically dictates a karmic rebirth in lower realms.
Correct. By shooting it out the fontanelle, it's a deliberate, directed ejection of consciousness straight into liberation.
You are taking the wheel at the exact moment the vehicle is dismantling itself.
That's a perfect way to describe it. And this practice actually leaves physical evidence behind.
Wait, really? Physical evidence?
Yeah, the tradition lists outer signs, like a clear sky or sudden rainbows. Inner signs, like a radiant glow remaining on the corpse, or dew-like drops of blood or serum forming at the exact spot on the crown where the consciousness exited.
That is wild.
They even mention secret signs, like specific crystalline relics found in the ashes after cremation.
Okay, but wait. If ejecting your consciousness through the crown is basically the ultimate hack to enlightenment, why not just pull the ripcord the moment you get a terminal diagnosis?
Well, you can't just do that.
Right. The text is intensely strict about the timing. It warns that it's actually harmful to perform this transference before the exact moment of death. Why wait for this microscopic window between the outer and inner breath stopping?
Because if you attempt consciousness transference while the body and the mind are still functionally viable, it's considered an unnatural severing of the mind-body connection.
Oh, I see.
Essentially, the tradition views it as a form of taking one's own life, which carries incredibly heavy negative karmic consequences.
So the physical body, even a sick one, is a precious vessel for spiritual practice.
Exactly. You cannot abandon the ship while it's still seaworthy. The practice relies completely on the natural dissolution of the elements having already completed their course.
You need the heavy machinery fully powered down so the subtle energies are naturally gathered in the central channel, ready for release.
Right.
So the factory has to naturally shut down before you can extract the mainframe's core data. But let's say that microscopic window closes. The consciousness transference isn't performed. What happens then?
If the transference isn't utilized, then natural progression of death unfolds into its most bare, profound state.
This is where the lama attending the dying person reads aloud from the text, guiding the deceased through the transition.
Yes. As the mind settles deeply into the central channel, the ultimate reality dawns.
This is the emergence of what the tradition calls the inner radiance of the ground, or the mother inner radiance.
And it is described as the true, unvarnished nature of the mind. It's a naked awareness.
It's radiant, it's completely empty, it has no horizon and no center. It is totally beyond substance, shape, or color.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Dalai Lama's commentary in the source material explains this beautifully.
What does he say about it?
He points out that in the Buddhist view, beneath all our complex, conditioned thoughts, beneath every anxiety, every memory, every ambition, lies this pure, luminous, foundational awareness.
But we rarely notice it during our lives, right?
Exactly. Because we are so heavily habituated to the constant noise of our sensory experiences and our endless conceptual thinking.
It's like looking at a mirror. We spend our entire lives staring at the endless, chaotic reflections bouncing off the glass.
The good reflections, the scary reflections, the mundane ones.
Yeah, we get so caught up in the drama of the images that we never actually notice the clear, perfect glass of the mirror itself.
That's a beautiful analogy.
So meeting this inner radiance at death is like all the reflections instantly vanishing, leaving you staring at the pure, unblemished glass of your own awareness.
And for an advanced practitioner, someone who has spent years meditating and cultivating a recognition of this clear glass during their lifetime, they possess what is called the child inner radiance.
Okay, the child inner radiance.
Yes. When death occurs, their cultivated child inner radiance recognizes and meets the natural mother inner radiance of the universe.
The imagery used is a mother and child joyously reuniting.
It is. And when they merge, it leads instantly to the Buddha body of reality, the Dharmakaya, total liberation.
But this profound window doesn't stay open forever. The sources note this phase only lasts about the time taken to eat a meal, though it can vary based on the health of a person's subtle energy channels.
Right, it's a brief opportunity.
Which brings me to a practical problem. How does a normal person, someone who hasn't spent decades meditating on emptiness, recognize something as abstract as pure, empty awareness when they are simultaneously losing their entire physical anchor to reality?
The profound karmic reality is that, well, they usually don't.
They just miss it.
For ordinary beings, the sudden, naked exposure to this limitless, boundaryless radiance is simply too intense.
I mean, that makes sense.
You have to remember, we spend our whole lives constructing an ego, a self built on boundaries.
Yeah.
This is me, that is you, this is my body, this is my job.
So to embrace that blinding empty light means the total dissolution of those boundaries.
Exactly. Without the familiar reference points of a physical body or a physical world, the ego experiences absolute terror.
Out of that deep karmic habituation and fear, ordinary beings fail to recognize the light as their own mind, and they swoon back into unconsciousness.
And because they swoon, they miss that ultimate window of liberation.
When they awake from that unconsciousness, which can be days later, the mind's pure, unadulterated energy begins to refract.
Imagine that pure white light hitting a prism. It fragments into highly structured, intensely colored visions.
The deceased has now entered the intermediate state of reality.
They awaken, but they are no longer in a physical body. They possess a mental body.
And they have complete, unhindered sensory faculties, right?
Yes. And because they are no longer bound by gross physical matter, this mental body can pass effortlessly through solid objects. They can walk right through mountains or boulders.
Although there are two fascinating exceptions to that rule.
Right, two very specific exceptions.
The mental body can pass through anything except a mother's womb, which they might be karmically tethered to for their next rebirth, and the indestructible seat.
Right, the indestructible seat, or Vajrasana. That refers to the diamond seat of enlightenment at Bodhgaya, where a Buddha attains awakening.
So it's basically the absolute spiritual center of gravity in this cosmology.
Exactly. A mental body cannot pass through it because it is the immovable axis of reality itself. It highlights the rigid physics of karma operating even in this fluid state.
So you're floating in this fluid, deeply vulnerable state, completely exposed to the unspooling of your own mind.
And that's when the visions start.
Over the next several days, the peaceful deities of the 5 enlightened families begin to appear. We're talking about massive cosmic figures like Vairocana, Vajrasattva, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha, and Amoghasiddhi.
And they don't just gently drift into view either.
No, they appear as blinding, intensely brilliant colored lights, blue, white, yellow, red, and green, and they are accompanied by sounds that reverberate like 1,000 simultaneous peals of thunder.
It is designed to be awe-inspiring. These figures and colors represent the pure, overwhelming power of pristine cognition.
But here is the critical karmic tension the text reveals. Alongside these blinding, terrifyingly bright lights of the Buddhas, there simultaneously appear dull, smoky, inviting lights.
Yes, these dull lights represent the 6 realms of cyclic existence, the realms of gods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings.
And the instinct of the deceased, driven by past negative actions and the heavy momentum of habitual tendencies like pride, envy, and ignorance, is to flee the terrifyingly bright lights of the Buddhas.
They literally want to run away from enlightenment.
They seek comfort in the dull, familiar lights of the lower realms. It's like, imagine you've been locked in a dark, familiar, musty basement for years.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, the doors are flung open, and you are thrust out into the blazing, unyielding midday sun. Your immediate instinct is to cover your eyes, turn around, and run right back into the dim, comfortable shadows of the basement.
Even if that basement is a prison.
Right, because you know every corner of it.
That is the exact psychological mechanism at play. Our habitual tendencies make us crave what is familiar, even if what is familiar is our own suffering.
We are intimately accustomed to the dullness of anger, the smoky haze of ignorance, the heady pull of attachment.
The bright, piercing light of pure awareness demands that we drop our ego and face reality nakedly. And the ego would rather be miserable than be extinguished.
I mean, let's be honest. Enlightenment sounds exhausting compared to the familiar comfort of holding on to a really good petty grudge.
It really does. We cling to the grudge because it defines the boundaries of ourself.
This is precisely why the Lama's role is so vital here.
The Lama is essentially shouting from the sidelines of reality, constantly instructing the deceased, calling out to them.
Saying, do not be afraid of the bright light, be devoted to it. Do not be attached to the dull, smoky light.
The Lama is trying to help them recognize that these terrifying deities and blinding lights aren't external judges or monsters coming to punish them. They are simply the natural manifestation of the deceased's own pure mind.
If the deceased can just recognize that the blinding light is their own reflection, the fear dissolves. Recognition and liberation occur simultaneously.
It's like waking up in a nightmare, realizing you are the one dreaming, and suddenly the monster loses all its power.
Exactly. So what does this all mean?
It's a lot to take in.
We've talked about factory shutdowns, subtle energies, seed syllables vibrating through the central channel, and mental bodies passing through mountains. It is a breathtakingly complex map of the afterlife.
It really is.
But it's easy to listen to this and think it's just esoteric cosmology. Why should you, listening to this right now, care about these mechanics while you are very much alive?
Because the profound secret of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is that it isn't just a manual for the dead.
It is a mirror for what you are doing right now, today.
The teachings are vital for the living, because every single day we are presented with choices between the bright lights of awareness, compassion, and open-heartedness, and the dull lights of our habitual emotions.
Our anger, our pride, our jealousy, our desperate need to be right.
We run back into the basement every single day.
We do. We choose the comfortable shadows of our bad habits over the uncomfortable, bright reality of being fully present and vulnerable.
By understanding how these karmic mechanisms threaten to pull us toward suffering in the intermediate state, we can start doing the work right now.
We can start choosing the bright light in our daily waking lives. We can practice recognizing the clear glass of the mirror, not just obsessing over the reflections.
And cultivating that recognition is exactly what prepares us for the ultimate transition. A Dalai Lama, in his commentary on this text, draws a beautiful and provocative parallel.
He points out that the process of death and the entry into the intermediate state perfectly mirrors a physiological and mental process we go through every single night.
Yes, the process of falling asleep.
Think about that tonight. As you lie in bed and you feel your physical senses powering down the factory, shutting off for the evening.
As your waking consciousness dissolves into the blackness of sleep.
Only to reemerge into the fluid, sometimes bizarre, sometimes terrifying mental landscape of your dreams. Just consider this.
Could tonight's journey into the dream world be your very own practice run?
A daily opportunity to practice waking up to the nature of your own mind, preparing you to navigate that ultimate explosion of blinding, brilliant light, the terrifying and profoundly liberating canvas of your own inner radiance.